Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and I have an admission to make. I have never missed a season of The Ultimate Fighter since I got into MMA. Now, I've obviously gone back and watched some of the series that I wasn't around for as well, and I did a video about it on my channel when I spoke about the announcement of Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena as coaches, and how the Tough relaunch had really not fixed any of the issues that I had with Tough. To sum that up in a much quicker fashion, it's not as efficient as the Contender series anymore for finding fighters. It's not as entertaining, and that is partly because the fighters are far more professional, so you get a lot less drama on the show, which is not their fault. And the coaches they picked have not been entertaining enough, and that is not a downside on them. Amanda Nunes, I'm sure, a fantastic coach for all of those fighters. Juliana Pena as well, but you knew that that series wasn't going to be entertaining in the way that some of the previous Tough seasons was. So now, it's being talked about that Conor McGregor and Tony Ferguson are going to coach The Ultimate Fighter. Now, let's go back to where this kind of initially came from. And it was a post from Conor McGregor on Instagram. I've got it here. I'll sum it up. He shared a photo of when he coached against Uriah Faber, which, in my opinion, one of the best series. The fights were very good and an entertaining dynamic with the coaches there as well. He speaks about doing that and then going on to beat Chad Mendes. Talks about his experience on the show, showing up with the slickest suits. Of course, he coached his team to victory. Is that true? Did Ryan Hall not win that series? No. I'm trying to think. I know that Saul Rogers should have won it, but he couldn't do the final. And so I thought was the final not Artem Lobov versus Ryan Hall? And Ryan Hall, you know what? It really doesn't matter. Regardless, he says, crazy, some journey. I've just been offered to coach this role again. I like it. It's full immersion, which is needed. And I think, let's talk about it from Conor McGregor's perspective, first of all. And this plays into the UFC's perspective. Conor probably needs time before he comes back. Those injuries and stuff like that. Tough has always been used in a way to keep some of the most popular fighters on the UFC roster busy when they can't fight or whatever. Or when they have a fight booked, but they know it's not going to be for a while. We know that Conor's coming back. I think that's fair to say. But we know it's not going to be for a while. So how do you keep Conor in the spotlight? Of course, it's a no-brainer from the UFC. I spoke about this in the Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena video, in that obviously if they can get Conor back, do it. That's what you have to do to revive Tough. But I thought he wouldn't want to do it. But the challenge that Tough presents, something a bit different, I think would engage him. Even though the previous season of Tough that he did, he only showed up for half the sessions. But, you know, maybe it'd be different this time around. I don't know. I mean, it was fascinating, that series, getting to see how Conor works and stuff like that. So that would be a really great insight. And of course, if there are complaints about Conor and maybe his dedication to training and things like that, then that would sort that right out, because he would be in the gym the majority of the time. So I think from that, it makes perfect sense. If they can get Conor, get Conor. If you can hear that noise, sorry, there is roadworks going on right outside my window. So it quietened down for a bit, so I thought I might be okay, but who knows. So that immediately got people talking. I think if you would ask me who he'll be coaching against at that time, as when that post went up, I would have said Michael Chandler. I've felt like that was the fight for him to come back to for ages. The UFC are really high on Michael Chandler. He's a great character. And so having him and Conor coach across from each other, setting up a huge fight that everyone is going to watch anyway. Michael Chandler, maybe not the best personality for Tough. He's a really nice guy. And I think he would make for a great coach. But we've seen that a lot. I think back to Volkanovski, one of the best fighters on the planet. The nicest dude, Alexander the Great, Dad Volkanovski. Amazing. But not necessarily the most entertaining coach, because he's so driven that his whole team take that approach. You know what I mean? So then Tony Ferguson posted a message. Now, I'm not going to read this one word for word because it's Tony Ferguson. If you've ever seen him tweet or post anything on social media, you know that it is like hieroglyphics at points. But basically, he said that he had been asked to coach The Ultimate Fighter against anyone of his choosing, which is interesting. And he chose Conor, which, smart move. So let's talk about the actual season, and talking about this from Tony Ferguson's perspective. In that video I made about Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes, I gave 5 choices for other coaching duos they could go with, and Tony Ferguson was one of the people I named. I think I named Michael Chandler as the other coach who he should coach against. I have always thought Tony Ferguson is one of my favourite fighters, I should say, and that he's made for the Ultimate Fighter. He came through it for a start, so you get that nice story of him coming back to it. Conor obviously has already coached it, so you have that story as well. But who doesn't want to watch Tony Ferguson train people and see how they react to being coached by Tony Ferguson? I would love that. And I would love to see... I don't know if we'll get it because there will be cameras there the whole time, but maybe we get a bit of a glimpse into Tony Ferguson and what he's like when the cameras aren't on, when there are moments when he's a bit more chilled and stuff. I don't know. I can't imagine we're going to get that. He's going to be mental the whole time, isn't he? Of course he is, Tony Ferguson. My worry is not about the season. The season will be fantastic. I know it will. Tony and Conor have gone back and forth for years. Conor just dismisses them as this weird guy. And Tony has had to deal with that for a lot of his fights. And he's called out Conor McGregor for ages with some, I'll say, terrible call-outs. Yeah, I think that most of them were pretty bad. But, you know, you can't blame a guy for trying. The season will be fantastic. It'll be what Tough has needed for so long. My worry is, as a Tony Ferguson fan, do I want to see him fight Conor McGregor? Now, there's 2 sides to this. One, if there's anyone in the UFC that deserves a Conor McGregor payday before they leave the UFC, it is Tony Ferguson. Cowboy Cerrone would have been up in there for me as well, and he's already got that. Michael Chandler's doing very well. He'll be fine. I would love to see Tony Ferguson get a fight where he can make more money than he's ever made in his career, including the Tough season, and then bow out. I worry as a Tony Ferguson fan that fight is going to be scary. I know that he was winning the first round against Michael Chandler, and I was sat there saying El Kukui is back, baby, and then he got brutally knocked out in one of the best knockouts of 2022. One of the best. I was going to say one of the best front kick knockouts of all time, but it's a front kick knockout, so it's already amazing. All of them are. Have you ever seen a bad front kick knockout? Me neither. But that worries me. And so at first I was like, Tony fighting Conor. Jesus. Even when Tony was in his prime, he was tearing through the division, I love Tony Ferguson, and I would be like, do I want to see him fight Conor? Yeah, he's got the cardio on him. He's just so tough, as we know. But Conor has the ability to, like, Eddie Alvarez is insanely tough, and the man got hit and would go down nearly every time he got hit. Like, it's just another level of power. So it worries me for the fight, but if this is going to be the last fight, and let's be honest, if they gave Tony Ferguson anyone with power, we're all probably going to think the same thing is going to happen. So if you're going to do it, at least he makes a ton of money in fighting Conor McGregor, and I think that the Tough season itself would be great. So I would love to see that. Again, I think that Michael Chandler is a much more interesting fight. It's also a much more dangerous fight for Conor, like way more dangerous. So Tony kind of gives me the idea that because if Conor knocks out Tony Ferguson, don't get me wrong, if he does it in incredible fashion, he's going to be talked about as a top lightweight again. It's just how it works. But is a win over Tony Ferguson going to get him into a title shot? No, I don't think so. I mean, it's Conor, so who knows? But a win over Michael Chandler, he's in. Next fight, done. Signed, sealed, delivered. But I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this. Is there someone else you'd rather see coach, either opposite Tony or opposite Conor? I always wanted the Tony and Khabib series, but not going to get it, are we? I thought we might get it when Khabib turned into a coach. But now he's walked away, so we're not going to see that. So let me know. What do you guys think about the matchup? What do you guys think about the series? Is there anyone else that you would rather see in that coaching role? And how likely do you think it is that we're going to see it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you in a bit.